on the mind?
Demai,
Right.
Zayin Vav.
Okay. If there were before him two baskets of tevel, and he declared the tithes of this in that, the first is tied, and of this in that, and of that in this, the first is tied. The tithes are tithes of one basket in the other, and he has designated them. 100 tevel, 100 kulin, he takes 101. 100 tevel, 100 maisa, he takes 101. 100 tithe kulin, 100 maisa, he takes 110. 100 tevel, 90 meiser, 90 tevel, and 80 meiser, he has lost nothing. This is the general rule. As long as the greater part is tevel, he has lost nothing. Okay. If one had 10 rows of 10 jars of wine each, and he declared one exterior row shall be meiser, and it is not known which, he must take 2 jars diagonally. Half of an exterior roll shall be meiser, and if it is not known which, he must take 4 jars from 4 corners. 1 row shall be meiser, and if it is not known which, he must make 1 row diagonally. Half of 1 row shall be meiser, and it is not known which, he must take 2 rows diagonally. 1 jar will be meiser, and if it is not known which, he must take from each jar. They have a little diagram here. You know that diagram, right? You have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, we're both in Kahati.
Okay. We should be at, let me see.
Hey, we're in Kilayim.
Kilayim, right.
Okay, so just to remind you, there were several different forms of Kilayim. There's Kilaye Hakerim, which is forbidden mixtures inside a vineyard, which is unique in that it's Asr Bahana, and it destroys both species. There's Kilayim Zaraim, which is Asr to do, but isn't Asr Bahana. That's when you're planting 2 different species together. There's Kilayim Behema, which is crossbreeding animals. There's Kilayim Eitzim, which is grafting 2 different types of trees together. There's Kilayim Behema is with plowing with 2 different species together. Okay, and we also have Kilayim Begadim, which is shatnez.
Mm-hmm.
So all different types of Kilayim that we deal with, and we start out by saying which species are actually considered close enough that they are not considered to be Kilayim. So chitim vazunim. So wheat and zunin. Zunin is actually an inferior species of wheat, which is generally not for human consumption, but since it can be for animal consumption, it is considered a food, and therefore it would be subject to the laws of Kilayim.
They call this Darnell here.
Darnell, okay, right. And because it is a species of wheat, so therefore there's no prohibition on mixing it with wheat. So barley and oats. Barley and oats. Well, if shibolet shual is in fact oats, let's just see.
He calls it oats.
It's translated as oats. Okay, so let's just leave it as that. So barley and oats are considered similar enough that they would not be kilayim with each other. Kusmin v'shifon, rye and spelt. Rye and spelt are also not kilayim. Pul v'sapir. Pul is beans, and sapir is what it?
Chickpeas.
Chickpeas.
Right.
Okay, pork and v'topach. Pork and v'topach, which are 2 different types of legumes. Pol halavan v'shuit. So white beans and shuit is some other kind of bean.
Kidney beans.
Kidney beans. Okay. Einam kilayim zebazeh. So each pair over here are not considered kilayim with each other. Obviously, we're talking only about pairs. We're not talking about like all of them are being grouped with each other. It's just each pair is not considered kilayim with each other. Okay.
He says spelt and rye. He says that the Rambam defines spelt as the desert wheat and rye as another kind of desert wheat.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know what relation that bears to what we call spelt and rye today.
Right. I'm sure the breads were much different than what we have now.
Yeah, I know that my my wife finds spelt a lot more digestible than wheat.
I like spelt. I like spelt.
Yeah, also do. Okay, Mishna Beis, Hakishas Vamalafafon. So you have cucumber and cucumber melon, I think they're called.
Right, right.
Okay, Elam Kilayim is also not Kilayim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kilayim, he says no, they are two different species. They must they must be kept separate. Chazeres v'chazeres galim. So lettuce and chazeres galim, another species of lettuce, which grows in the mountains, mountain lettuce. Okay. Ulshin v'ulshe sadeh. Ulshin, I think. Oh,
Endives.
endives. Yeah, he's translated here Tzikorium. I don't know what Tzikorium is in modern Hebrew. Anyway, that's what he translated it as. And Ulshe Sadeh, which is wild ones. Kusbar, Kusbar Sadeh. Kusbar, I think, is cumin. No. Kusbar is coriander.
Wait, leek. There's leek and wild leek first.
I missed them? Kreshim and Kresha Sadeh. Beg your pardon. The leek and the wild leeks. Then coriander and wild coriander. Chardal v'chardal mitzri, mustard and Egyptian mustard. Telas hamitzris v'haramutza, and Egyptian gourd and ramutza is also kind of a gourd, obviously.
It's called a bitter apple.
Bitter apple? Ramutza is a bitter apple?
It says Egyptian gourd and bitter apple.
Okay, I'd never heard it called that. Okay, and pol hamitzri v'charov. And the Egyptian bean and the charov. Now, this cannot be referring to the carob that we have on our trees, because that's a tree. There's no way that a gourd, that a bean could be compared to a carob, because the carobs grow on a tree. So it must be some sort of bean that grows on the ground that looks similar to a carob and is thus named. Otherwise, they would, yeah.
Trying to see what it says. Egyptian bean, a kind of pulse with thin bent carob like stalks, and just says carob after that. So, all right.
Unless the Egyptian bean is something that grows on a tree.
Yeah, it doesn't say. Anything about it. Nothing about it. Okay.
So that's the other possibility, that we're talking about a real carob, but the Egyptian bean is not a true bean. That grows on a tree. Okay, Einam Kilayim Zibaze, and these are not. But why it doesn't make sense is because this whole Mishnah over here is talking about vegetables, and then suddenly we switch to talking about a tree product. The first Mishnah was talking about all these grains and a couple of legumes, and then it comes talking about some more vegetables over here. So everything that we've been talking about up until now has been things that grow on the ground, and we have later Mishnahs that Mishnah Dalet in fact starts Uba Ilan, and we're talking about a tree. So the carob that we have here just simply cannot be a carob that grows on a tree. It just does not make sense. I haven't looked at other mafarshim on that, but you know what? Give me a second to look it up. Right, so I just looked this up on Safaria, and the Bartanura says that charov is a min kitnis. It's also a kind of a legume. V'korin la charov lefi shetarmilav she'azer b'tocha hen dakin v'akumin kecharovin. It looks similar to the carob, and it's related to the Egyptian bean. So there we go. So my instincts were correct there, that this is it's simply a bean that's called a carob because it looks like the carob that grows on the tree. Okay.
This is interesting too. It says bitter apple is a kind of bitter gourd sweetened when treated with hot ashes. So
that's right. That's Kahati's thing of how to eat it.
Doesn't sound appetizing.
I guess people are forced to find ways to eat things if food is running low, which is why I wonder why we still try to eat eggplants. I mean, it's not like we're in famine or anything like that, but people still persist in trying to make eggplants edible. Anyway,
you don't like eggplant, I guess. You don't like eggplant.
No. No, I mean, I don't particularly object to it. I just find it singularly uninteresting, and my son-in-law likes it.
My wife makes. My daughter also makes eggplant parmesan. So that's still different because it has cheese and sauce, and also it's you know.
Right.
Anyway, all right.
Okay. Mishnah Gimel halefes v'nafutz. Lefes is a turnip, and nafutz is also kind of a radish that's similar to the turnip. Okay, but kruv v'hat trov tor. That's cauliflower and cabbage, I think it is. Is that
Right.
right? Trov tor is
Right.
okay. Tradim v'halunim. The spinach and leunin. What's leunin? Which two different types. They're both species of selek, which is beet.
Beetroot.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was actually caught by surprise when I found spinach leaves in the shops, and I thought, hey, this should be called tered, and I see it's labeled ale selek.
Oh, really?
Leaves of beet. They're beet leaves, but apparently beets and spinach are very closely related.
I didn't know that. I like beets.
Yeah.
I like beets. But, you know.
Well, I like both.
I like spinach also. Yeah.
Yeah. My kids enjoy beetroot because they enjoy the novelty of pishing pink.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah. Okay. Enam Kilayim Zebeze Hosif Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva comes and adds his own opinion. He says Shumva Shumanis, the garlic and the Shumanis is also kind of a wild garlic, which is smaller. Batzal v'batzaltzul, onions and batzaltzul is also a wild onion. Turmus v'plaslus. Turmus is the lupin,
Right.
which we discovered is actually edible, but it is also edible. Plaslus is it's a wild lupin. Einam Kilayim zebazeh. So this is Rabbi Akiva adds his own opinion on this. I don't see anything written here about whether we hold halacha like Rabbi Akiva or not, assuming that we know what all these species are anyway.
I don't say anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that word, when I say, like, I don't know why I'm not into it, but it just turns me off for some reason when I see it, like a beetroot soup or beetroot salad or something. I don't. It's regular stuff, but I just the word beetroot, it just kind of like gets me.
Oh, when you add the root.
Yeah, the root. Like it's sort of beetroot.
Oh, we always used to call, as far as I grew up, that it was called beetroot. That's just
Really?
the name of the thing. It's called beetroot.
Oh. I never knew about that before, but it's just, that's not. I don't know why. I should try it, but it just.
Mm-hmm.
And I like salads, so.
Okay, Demai hey ches.
I took my thing out of here. Hey ches. Okay. If a person collects sheaves to make hats or chumasat or a cake or sheaves, he is not liable to shicha.
Just hold on a second. You're in.
Well, I'm in pay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I took that stupid tissue out. Hey ches. Okay, here we are. If one buys from a wholesaler and then buys again, he should not separate tithes from one for the other, and not even for the same.
Wait. No, you're in hey ches.
Oh, okay. This is the last time I'm doing this. If one buys tevel from two places, he may tithe from one for the other, although they said one may not sell tevel except in the case of a necessity. One may give tithe from a Jew's for that of a non-Jew's, from a non-Jew's for that of a Jew, from a Jew's for that of a Kusin, from a Kuthian for that of a Kuthian, and Reb Eliezer forbids from a Kuthians for that of Kuthians.
Right, because the concern that he has is that one of them might actually have tithed because he wanted to eat it first, and then he changed his mind and decided to sell it.
No. A perforated pot is as the earth. If he gave truma from the earth for a perforated pot, from a perforated pot for the earth, his truma is truma. From a non-perforated pot for a perforated one, it is truma. But he must give truma again. From a perforated one for a non-perforated one, it is truma, but may not be eaten until he separates trumas and maestras from it. Okay.
Okay. Now we're in Paya.
Okay. Paya.
Base Gimel.
That's where I am. Everything forms a division for seeds, but only a fence forms division for trees. If the branches are intertwined, it does not form a division. And if one gives paya for the whole, and as for the carob trees, whichever see one another, Rabbein Gamliel says, in my father's house they used to give one paya for the olives that they had in each direction, and one for the carobs which saw one another. Reb Eliezer ben Sadek said in his name, even for the carobs which they had in the entire town. And here's where you're talking about carob trees, because it comes
Yes,
from
these are trees, exactly.
if a person sows his field of one kind, even though he does sow, this it happens over here, is it? Always have to do this. If a person sows his field with one kind, even though he does so in 2 threshing floors, he gives 1 payah. If he sowed it with 2 types, even though he did so in the threshing time, he gives 2 payot. If a person sows his field with 2 types of wheat, he does so in 1 threshing time. He gives 1 payah. 2 threshing times, he gives 2 payot.
Okay. Need a hey Tess.
In the case of a 20-year-old female who has not brought 2 pubic hairs, Reb Yossi, she shall bring proof that she is 20 years old, and she must also exhibit the size of an alonis, and then she may.
And that makes her into an Ilonus.
Right, and then she neither performs kalitza nor is taken as a yibum wife. In the case of the 20-year-old male who has not produced 2 pubic hairs, he shall bring proof that he is 20 years old, and he must also exhibit the size of saras, and then he neither performs kalitza nor takes his brother's widow as a yibum wife. These are the words of Bev Hillel. Rav Shammai says the aforementioned rulings apply to this female and to that when they are 18 years old. Rav Eliezer says the law of male accords with the opinion of Beis Hillel, and the law of the female accords with the opinion of Beis Shammai, for the woman hastens to come to physical maturity before the man.
Right, but the halacha follows Beis Hillel completely at age 20.
What is the lower sign? When the lower sign comes before the upper sign comes, a girl performs either kalitza or yibum. When the upper sign comes before the lower sign comes, even though this is not possible, Bremeya says she performs neither kalitza nor yibum. But the Chachamim say she performs either chalitza or yibum because they have said it is possible for the lower sign to come before the upper sign has come, but it is not possible for the upper sign to come before the lower sign has come.
Right, and now we kick off into a whole bunch of Mishnayos where we have Venn diagrams that look like concentric circles.
Similar to this, every earthenware vessel that lets out liquid, but there could be either an earthenware vessel that lets out liquid but does not let in liquid. Every limb that has a fingernail has a bone, but there can be a limb that has a bone but does not have a fingernail.
Okay. Okay, Kilayim, Yud base.
The beam of a comber's balance scale is tamei on account of its hooks, and the beam of the balance scale of householders, if it has hooks, it is tamei. Hooks on the poles of porters are tahor, but hooks on the poles of peddlers are tamei. Rabbi Yehuda says, with regard to the hooks of peddlers, that which is in front of him is tamei, and that which is behind him is tahor. The hooks of a dagarsh are tamei, but the hooks of bedpoles are tahor, and the hook of a chest is tamei, but the hook of a fish trap is tahor, and the hook of a table is tamei, but the hook of a wooden candelabra is tahor. This is the general rule. Anything attached to that which is tamei is itself tamei, and anything attached to that which is tahor is itself tahor. And regarding all of these hooks, each one is tahor. Regarding the betel cover of a teni belonging to householders, Rabbi Gamil rules a tamei, but the Kakaman rules a tahor. But the metal cover of a tamei that belongs to physicians is tamei. The door.
The reason being because they use it as a key when they open it up and use it as a key to hold things.
The door of a cabinet that belongs to householders is tahor, but the door of a cabinet that belongs to physician is tamei.
Because
Tongues
again,
are
it also has the doctor's cabinet has got pockets in the doors itself.
tongues are tame, but parachin are tahor. The akrab of an olive press is tame, but a hook in the wall is tahor. A blacksmith's bar is tame, but the pin of a sundial is tahor. But Reb Zadok rules it tame. A weaver's rod is tame, and regarding the chest of bean grinders, Reb Zadok rules it tame, but the Chachamim rule it tahor. If its wagon was made of metal, it is tame. What happens with the, what happens with the tongues? The handle at the end is what's tahor. Am I correct? No, the tongues are tahor, but the parakin are tahor. So
just go back to that. The tongues, Yituchin, that's the tongues. מלכה חיים שנוטלים בהם הכלי שהותח בכסף כדי להריקו לתוך כלי אחר. טמאים, שדה מקבל טומאה. שהם קבועים בקיריים. So the difference is the parachin is actually fixed to the stove, which makes it, and that makes it tahor because they're made because they're fixed to be used by mechubel karka, right? So it's because it's fixed into something that's in the ground, so therefore it's considered mechubel karka, and therefore it is tahor.
Fixed into the ground. It says the parachin is the end of this thing that the tongue is on. It's this little spot over here where my finger is. It's like the end of the end.
Yeah, that whole kli that extends into the oven.
The whole kli extends in.
It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing, and that whole thing is since it's fixed into the ground, it is tahor. The oven itself is a unique case because normally things that are fixed into the ground should be tahor, but the oven, even though it's baked into the ground, it is nonetheless susceptible to tumah.
But the tongues are tameh.
Right, the tongues can be used to hold things because the tongues are loose.
Okay.
Okay.
Thought it was one. Okay. Just put this back over here. That was 4. Okay.
Right. Sanhedrin out of base.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Sanhedrin.
Right.
Out of base.
Cases of lashes are judged by 3. In the name of Yishmael, they said by 23. The intercalculating of the month is by 3, and the intercalculating of the year is by 3. These are the words of Rav Meir. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says it is begun with 3, discussed by 5, concluded by 7. If they concluded with 3, it's valid. The smika of the elders and the decapitation of the calf are by 3. These are the words of Reb Shimon. Reb Yehuda, however, says by 5, and kalitza and refusal are before 3. The 4th year fruit and the Ma'aser Sheni, whose value is unknown, are judged by 3. Redemption of articles of hektish is judged by 3. Assessments of movable objects is by 3. And Yehuda says one of them must be a kohen. That of real property is by 9, and a kohen, and likewise for a human being. Capital case.
We're done.
You did?
Oh no, I beg your pardon. No, we got one more. Sorry, Dalit is also in.
Capital cases are judged by 23. The animal which commits an act of bestiality or its recipient is judged by 23, as it says, and you shall kill the woman and the animal. And it says, and the animal you shall kill. An ox which is to be stoned is judged by 23, as it says, the ox shall be stoned, and also its owner shall be put to death. In the same manner as the owner is put to death, the ox is put to death. The wolf, the lion, the bear, the leopard, the bardellas, and the snake are sentenced to death by 23. Reb Eliezer says whoever is first to kill them acquires merit. Reb Akiva says their death is by 23.
Okay, Yoma Ches Dalit.
We do not afflict the children on Yom Kippur, but we train them prior to the previous year or prior to 2 years so that they should be accustomed to commandments. If a pregnant woman smells food or drink and requested it, they feed her until she recovers. A sick person, but if no experts are present, they feed him relying on his own opinion until he says enough.
Hold on, I think you skipped a sentence there. The sick person, you feed him according to what the experts say.
Right,
but if
right,
there aren't,
right.
but if there aren't any
They
experts,
feed him according to the advice of experts. But if no experts are present, they feed him relying on his own opinion until he says enough. If one was seized with bumos, they feed him even forbidden foods until his vision is restored. If one was bitten by a bad dog, they may not feed him from a liver lobe, but Messiah ben Karash permits it. But Messiah ben Karash also said if one has an ailment in his throat, they may drop medicine into his mouth on Shabbos because there may be a danger to life, and every possible danger to life supersedes the Sabbath. Okay.
It can.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Shkoyach. Have a wonderful day.
Have a great day. I will see you, Mr. Shem, tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Yes.